Welcome to the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary. This is your host, Scotty B. Friends. In the words of my next guest, remember your strength, whatever it may be, and never underestimate what you are capable of doing. An inspiration and a leader in the cosplay community, she's trained hard inside and outside of cosplay to bring and build up the people around her, balancing the many facets of life while taking on ever greater responsibilities as a general and organizer of a premier group of enabled, strong women. Her words have a positive and lasting impact on those around her and in the online space. Please welcome the humble, the disciplined, the Spartan, a mom that lifts to the show. Welcome, welcome. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much. That's such a big intro.
Well, I try to do it right, and yeah, it's great that we had a chance to connect. I know that you're super busy, and just having an hour of your time, I'm so grateful that we get to communicate and talk about all of the things that you have been doing in cosplay and around it, fitness. This is an amazing story. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait. Love to just get right into it with your origins.
Sure.
We have a story that goes back to 2012, where your fitness journey kind of starts, and you move into a different mindset. With an ultimate fitness goal, like originally was to be skinny. You fast forward through that to a few years later, becoming a mom, crushing fitness goals, cosplay goals, and things just get bigger and bigger. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, so I mean fitness in general was not a part of my life really until I met my ex-husband, which is, credit where credit is due. I was a band kid. I was in band for over 10 years and fitness. I had friends who were sort of peripherally in sort of the track and dance and sort of football arenas, and I was
Mhm.
not interested. I was a band kid. That's what I
You
did.
were
And then I
band.
met
What did you play?
I played flute and piccolo
Okay.
in concert and marching band, especially. I did marching band for like 10 years, all the way through college.
Oh, wow, good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't really play much now, but I did it. But no, I met my ex-husband in 2013, shortly after I graduated college, and he was active duty military at the time and training for a school he was going to go off and do.
Mhm.
And we did not live in the same place, and we only saw each other on the weekends. And most of that time at that time was spent in a gym. And I got really tired of being the girlfriend who was just kind of sitting and watching. And I asked if he could show me what he was doing, and he said yes, and the rest is kind of history. And it has evolved into this much greater thing. And I think because of where I started with him, I've found a lot of strength and like strength of self and sort of like capacity and what can you affect and what are you in control of. And it's really grounded me quite a bit as I've sort of moved into the rest of my life now with a kid and now cosplay, which was a happy accident. And yeah, no, fitness is it's been a surprising turn of events these last 10 or so years. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a very happy accident. And
Mm,
speaking of military and
mm.
cosplay, you are the founder
That was an
and
exceptional segue. That was an exceptional
and
segue.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, you're the founder and general of the
Yeah.
Excuse, I'm a little tongue twisted today.
No, it's
Adelphi
fine.
Phalanx. It's an affiliate subgroup of a larger 300 DC Spartans that
Mm.
coordinates on a very large scale. Spartan 300. Everybody knows. I hope everybody knows that. If you haven't seen 300, oh my goodness. And this all centers around Dragon Con. Um, we talked with one of the group a little earlier, Victoria, a very amazing
She's
person.
wonderful. She's
She's so
wonderful.
great,
Yeah.
Victoria, if you're watching. 2021, okay, is when you become a Spartan. And this is, in your own words, it's about knowing what you can do and pushing yourself to the absolute limit despite all odds to get it, which, accountability is so strong. So
It's a
yeah,
big
like
thing.
tell
It's
tell
a big
me
thing.
tell me about the
So the
group and everything.
so the Spartans. So I actually joined the Spartans sort of proper at Dragon Con in 2019. I did not go to con in 2019. but I had seen them when I went in 2016, and I had had my daughter in 2018, and sort of needed a push to get back into sort of the fitness mindset. And so I joined, it was September or October of 2019, and had a really great time. It's a really beautiful community of people who really just respect the grind and understand sort of like the fighting in the shadows kind of thing. And you sort of do it because you, not just because you want to, but because you also feel like you kind of have to for yourself and for the, what your goals are. And that resonated a lot with me because I'd gone through a lot personally just with my daughter. My marriage at the time was kind of falling apart too. So I found a lot of strength in self and in that community sort of initially. And then I marched with them successfully. At the time, they had standards that every member wearing red had to meet. They
Hmm.
don't anymore. They sort of recouped themselves and sort of redid a lot of how they process themselves internally. Made it a lot simpler for their membership. And that happened in 2021. I was approached at con by the admins of that group, and I was basically offered the opportunity to say, hey, we think that there is enough growing interest to have women in capes. Women had been in capes since the beginning of the group, and the group's been at con since 2007.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
coming up
That's a
on
while.
20 years, which
20
is a
years.
while. And
Mhm.
women have been in capes in the group since the beginning. You can go back to like, you can find photos of them all the way back to the beginning, but there's not ever been sort of a structured or organized process for them. They just sort of did what the guys were doing. Um, and we're not canon, right? So that the guys always kind of felt a little weird judging them the same way. So we were like, you know what, they need their own sort of designated space. And I was offered that space kind of as a leader, and I was like, you can do whatever you want with it. You can make it like us, you can make it your own thing, but you're in charge if you want to do it. Um,
Wow.
so I said okay.
Okay.
And I modeled it after them because I really feel, I mean, they've been at con at that point for so long. They'd really set a standard for what I think fitness and cosplay was, just separate from the movie itself. They had really given themselves a space that they owned every year at con, and people knew who they were. So I felt like I was doing a disservice to my group if I didn't sort of emulate them in the same kind of way. So I set
Hmm.
all the same structures, all the same guidelines. The key difference between my group, between Adelphi and between the main, we'll call them 300 DC Spartans. I call them main group because we're not technically a part of them. We're affiliate. But the main group is that I have sort of hardline standards for condition. And that's just because we're small and we have a limited number of spots. And I like for there to be a healthy amount of competition within the group. And I like to feel like the spot that you earned there was earned.
Are you
It
the
kind
one
of
who
keeps,
you give the nod, right?
I give the nod.
You give
Yeah.
the nod.
It's a subjective process inherently. But I like to think I know what I am doing. And it's really simple, right? We have accountability standards. So show up for X, Y, and Z things throughout the year. We have monthly challenges we do and like an online forum set that we do. And I ask that there's participation in a certain amount of those. You don't have to complete them, just participate in them because so much of this group is community. So it's not just about like showing up and looking the part. It's also about being present for the person standing next to you and recognizing that it's not just about you. Sparta isn't Sparta at con if we all didn't look the same, right? So
That's
you
right.
can't really
There is a
you
very distinct look to
right,
the
so you can't
Spartans.
really bask in the glory unless you sort of contribute a little bit to the group too. So there's accountability pieces that I look for in membership to earn a spot in the phalanx. And then there's also obviously the physical piece too. And the physical stuff is fairly straightforward. I'd like to see abs and I'd like to see overall lean proportionate muscle mass. And I keep it broad like that because we're not really looking for one specific body type. I don't think that
Hmm.
that's entirely fair. And we're also not looking for somebody who's getting ready to walk up on a bodybuilding stage because that's hard and that's also a bit unhealthy and that's not a standard we want to set either. So there's again all of that to say there's inherent subjectivity to how people are chosen, but ultimately it comes down to effort and how much you apply yourself to the grind. And that's all set up front. You know what you're getting into. You basically sign off on it when you come in. This is what I look for. This is what I want. And we've done very well now for I think what 4 years. We've
Four
had
years, yeah.
really
Wow.
this will be I think our fourth year. Our first year marching was 2022. We only had 5 girls I think total.
Hmm.
And then we've doubled in size every year since. We hold to just 9 girls that will represent Adelphi every year in the parade and in our reveal. And that's just so that we don't oversaturate main group with non-canon characters.
Hmm.
But our girls push every year. We have a cut halfway through the year. So we start the year, last couple of years, we started with between 15 and 20 girls. And then we cut that group down about by half in February-ish, February or March. And that just makes all of the ones who maybe didn't make the cut, now they can pivot and do what they want to do at Dragon Con and not have to worry about staying in the cut for the summer or buying a costume, because the costume can be a couple of grand if you're commissioning the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. They're
Um,
expensive. They
yeah.
they may not you may not think it, but yeah, every single one of those pieces is very intricate.
It is. It is. But yeah, and then the girls who sort of make the cut get their nod, they grind on, and then everybody finds out officially in August whether or not they sort of got a spot in the Phalanx. And it's all of this is up front when you join, so none of it is a surprise. It's all your choice. You can leave whenever you want. You don't have to stay. It's up to you. But we've done very well. We've had very, very committed members like Victoria, who have our strength really is in our membership. I mean, I can sit here and say that I organized it and that I created it and that I'm the general, but we would not be what we are or as effective as we are if we did not have members like Victoria in there really trying to represent not just for herself and her goals, but for the group at large too. So it's been very, very successful as a space. And it's I feel very grateful to get to march in it at all.
It is an absolutely remarkable group. I can speak to that from a little bit of fitness experience. I was a personal trainer for a few years, and I worked
Oh, okay.
with several very good trainers. A little bit of a plug for my last trainer, Amelia, Dr. Amelia Thompson, out in the UK. She was a top 3 fitness competitor
Oh,
while she was still
wow.
competing. Very, very smart girl. She has a PhD in nutrition and taught me a lot of things about mindfulness. What you're doing really does make a difference, and I'm just really happy to see that after you have done so much also in fitness, competing, right? And
I did.
you were in the NPC pro scene. You've been on the stage. Would love to hear about your experience. You were in a Palmetto Classic. Yeah,
Yes.
just talk about
So,
how you got into that.
yeah. So that was sort of come to fruition a goal that I had set for myself when I was still married. I got in my divorce, sort of that flitted away in terms I had been training sort of for that whole year up until I had sort of ended my marriage, and then thought that I wasn't going to be able to have the time or find the time or have the money, because competing is expensive, to do it again anytime soon. And this would have been in 2020, 2020,
Twenty.
towards the end of 2020. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I was approached in, I think it was February, maybe January-ish, February 2021, by my trainer at the time, who was wonderful, Mary Kane out of Georgia. She's in Georgia now. I'm not working with her anymore, but she was fantastic. I'd been working with her for some time then. Trained at the time, was training a lot of Spartans too. And she approached me and she said, "Hey, you know what? I really think that you should compete. And if you were willing to do it, I would sponsor you so that you wouldn't have to um,
It is expensive. I
right, so
mean,
that you wouldn't have to, you would have to cover some of it, but you
every
wouldn't,
single thing in fitness is
yeah.
expensive.
So, and I actually learned way after the fact that it was she wasn't the one who sponsored me. It was a fellow Spartan who was working with her at the time and had seen all the progress and the potential that I was working towards. And he
Mhm.
told her that he would do it, which was, shout out to Cam. He's great.
Thank you,
But
Cam.
anyway, so yeah, thank you, Cam. But so I was like, okay, yes, I will do it. The scary thing was that it was at that point about a 7.5 week prep. And I had to lose something like 12 pounds at
Oh,
least.
wow.
And just as a
That's a cut.
disclaimer, that's a cut, and it is not a healthy cut.
Not in that
Most
time frame.
competitions, no, most competitions are something like 12 or 16 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, to lose objectively the same amount of weight, a lot more comfortably. And so we went into it and we did it, and it was I had a very young child. I had just moved home. I had nothing. I was looking for a job. Thank God for my mom. If I hadn't been living with my mom at the time, I was working out at like 11 o'clock at night. Like I was just getting it done. And so much of it was for my own sort of headspace of you can do this. This is something that you wanted to do. I needed to sort of give myself something back, sort of in the midst of all of that. So it was 4 years ago, not today, March 1st, May 1st was when I had my competition. So 4 years ago, fairly recently. And I went and it was the Palmetto Classic. It was an amateur show, it was not a pro show. But I competed bikini, and I won my class and I won my division. So
Wow.
I got the overall. I could not have come away from that competition with any more awards than I was given. Like I got the max number of awards for a competitor to have received to have been competing that day. And that was not what I went in thinking I was going to do. The goal was just to get top five and see sort of where that took me from there.
Mhm.
And I swept the whole damn thing and gave myself a massive rush of just validation. And it wasn't just like a fitness validation, right? It was the kind of push I needed mentally to kind of get myself over what was a very big personal hump at that time, to really get my feet back under me. And I have not competed since because that is hard. It is probably the hardest thing I have ever done in my life, and I've given birth to a child. I the mental just sort of tenacity that you really do. I have so much more respect for, not that I didn't have respect for competitors just before that, but I have so much more respect for the process and for the choice to do it over and over and over and over again. But it is not easy. And it's a checkbox that I have very confidently put on a list item that was there for a long time. I don't know if I'll do it again. I might. I don't know that I would do NPC again. I think I would probably try my hand at a natural sort of federation. But you know, never say never. It's something that I did, and it gave me a lot of great insight to the process and to what I'm capable of doing, which I think has been the most valuable takeaway. Um, and it's really lent itself to other arenas like Adelphi and sort of community spaces where fitness is important too. So I'm glad I did it. I would do it again.
I'm glad that really congratulations. I know it's a little late, but
Oh yeah,
I
no,
think
it's fine.
that it's amazing to see just for how I mean it's a tough contest. Like these
It is.
people really do work hard, all of them, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of politics that go into this too. So when you come into a show and you're new,
Yeah.
and you're getting recognized and you're winning awards, you're doing that. You're really swimming against the current because
Mhm.
these shows are not easy to win. There is a lot
No.
of things going on behind the scenes, and
Mhm.
there are also people who take a little bit of shortcuts here and there. I'm not going to lie about
Yeah.
that. Like
Oh no,
that
and
happens.
there's no shame there. I'm sure that there were enhanced athletes up there, and
Hmm.
that's, you know, that's just part of the process. That's just
They
a
do
choice.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do what they feel they need to
Mhm.
do to remain in that space, and that that can be sustainable for some and not for others.
Yeah.
I have put a lot into my own training over the last couple of years, and I know what goes into all of that. And I am still a normal looking human after all of it. So
Well, and
I'm
you
like,
know,
what? Like that you
that's
really do work very hard.
thank you. And you know, I have been blessed with good genetics too. And I have part of my reason for I think not pursuing it because my coach at the time wanted me to hold condition for another 2 weeks to go to junior nationals,
Mhm.
which she said I could have probably done very well at that space as well. But I was so tired. I had been eating under 1,000 calories a day for a
Yep.
while. I was done, and I had already won it. But I, you know, I've been told by my current coach, by her, by several of my sort of peers in similar arenas, some who do bodybuilding professionally as well, that I could do very well as a professional bikini competitor. I could certainly get a pro card very easily, but the problem, at least for me, is I think I could probably get there. I could get to the pro card, but I think to stay competitive, I probably would have to maybe enhance myself a bit more than I would feel comfortable doing. And it's just not that serious of a thing for me.
Mhm.
I've checked the box. If I want to come back to it, I will, but it will be at my pace and at a time where I think that it is doable. Right now, I'm content with cosplay. So,
And we're very
um,
happy that you are. I mean,
yes.
you have done, I mean, you were a model. You know,
Ooh.
peak time cosplay, you balance out everything. Um, I guess one question that I would ask, and I do want to like maybe get into a little bit of your modeling experience too, but if like what would you suggest to someone who is getting into your group? Like what would you say would be your greatest tip for either cosplay or fitness, or like where would they start if they wanted to sign up to become a member of your group?
So there's two ways I can answer that. Sort of the like on paper way is we have open recruitment every year for September after con. So if you're interested in joining, you would just go to our Instagram page and send us a DM, and then we send you a link to a recruitment form, and it gives you all the information that you need. That's a short answer to that question. It's actually a fairly simple process. And then depending on how many people we have who request and how many spots we have open, because girls can stay in, they can kind of roll over. You can also roll out depending on how inactive you've been. So getting in is sort of contingent on space available too. So that's the short answer for that. The longer answer, and I think the broader way to answer that in terms of like where do you start with fitness or where do you start with sort of fitting it into a busy life, I think is a more nuanced answer. Um, Cosplay for me, and really fitness in a lot of ways too, it's just something that I sort of accidentally kind of happened into, situationally. It was not something that I was seeking. I told you about my ex-husband, and if he had not been, training for, I think it was Ranger School at the time, and I wasn't going there for the weekends and sitting on the gym and looking at all the other girlfriends sitting at the gym, I would have never like had the inclination to be like, hey, can you talk to me about squatting, right? And then cosplay again, like I accidentally, we accidentally found Dragon Con. I don't know how that happens, but we accidentally found Dragon Con, and it was a life-changing experience. And so now here we are talking. But I've been doing the fitness thing way longer. I think fitting anything in for me as a mom and as a full-time working adult, right? It's really as simple as just acknowledging that it is something that I want to do, and it's a goal of mine that I have for myself. And I prioritize it in terms of sort of arranging the time in my day to be able to make time for it, right? Like I'm an artist by trade. That's what I studied in school. My degree is in art history. So how and why people make things is sort of part of just how I like my natural curiosities in general. So wanting to make things and wanting to build things and wanting to sort of build upon sort of ideas that can make myself stronger or myself more creative or can put myself in spaces that allow for me to be inspired by people around me, right? That's something that I naturally sort of want to seek out. So maybe in that sense, it's been a little bit easier for me to find the time, but it's also sort of one of those things too, where like if you want to do it, right? Like you don't hear people talking about finding the time to like brush your teeth or go get groceries or like do your laundry, right? Because those are things that you've decided for whatever reasons that you have to do, even though you could choose not to do those things too. I would recommend maybe
I'm choosing not to do my laundry today,
I,
actually.
I, I know I am as well, actually. But I would say like it's a similar kind of thing, right? You have all these goals and you have all these prioritization levels for the things in your life that matter. And creating and making cosplay and fitness, personal, mental health, all of that is self-care. That all has a very valid space in my life. And so I make the time for it. There will not be time to find if your life is structured in a way that doesn't allow for there to be time to find. So it very much is, at least in the fitness sense, a lifestyle change that kind of has to happen to allow for it to be present there. And that's a choice you have to make.
Mhm.
Being ready isn't something that just sort of happens as a feeling. That's a choice. You have to decide when you're ready and then you have to do it. Motivation's a fleeting feeling. It's not something that I think, in my opinion, you can rely on as a push to get started. That's more of a discipline thing. Um, but making it happen, I think, is deciding that you want it to happen and then reorganizing your time to find a way to make it happen is, I really think, where broadly how I would answer. That was a long-winded way to answer that question, but
That was a great
it's
way to
not
answer that question.
it's not about finding time because the time's not there if it already hasn't been and if you've already been choosing to put it somewhere else in your day, right? If you've decided that fitness is recreational and that it's sort of a as it can happen thing, then that's just where it's going to be and you're always going to struggle to find time for it. You have to put it in your life.
Yep,
Um,
you have to prioritize you and the way
right.
that you want to show up for yourself.
Right. It's just a choice. So, but yeah, and creativity and, finding strength in things like fitness, like that's all very grounding and sort of validating. It's all a very validating thing for me. So making sure that I can make it happen is important.
I was at Nightmare Weekend Chicago. I think it's or Nightmare.
Ooh.
Yeah, Nightmare Weekend Chicago recently. Talked to some folks. I'm wearing them today. You can see my shirt. It's conversations that conversations that count. Very very nice fellow that runs that, David. Just a great guy. Was kind enough. My co-host was at the show, working the show. She had her booth set up there. Asteroid Cosplay. Hi, Asteroid. It was great to see her. We finally did connect, which we have done this remotely for 6 years. Finally, she tours. Found her there, was on the podcast. So just wanted to give them a quick shout out as a show, talking about a little bit of a bigger show that did come up several times in conversation while we were going through things and just talking about mindset. And the next steps was Dragon Con, which is a big show for you. And you said you kind of came across it accidentally or
I
just
did.
by the by.
Mhm.
Would love to hear about Dragon Con, your experiences there, and your cosplays. It's a warm weather con, so the cosplays
It
can,
is.
let's just say they might be a little bit more showy, and
Body forward.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit more body positivity with some of the Dragon Con cosplays. But you must have developed characters that you enjoy or that you like to use for some of these events. And just let me, yeah, talk about some of your favorite things and just how it continues to evolve.
Yeah, so Dragon Con was a happy accident. That was my first time going was 2016, and at the time we were stationed in Augusta, which is not far from Atlanta, and we had family in town over Labor Day weekend, and we were trying to figure out something to do for the weekend. We had no idea. We didn't know what to do. We wanted to seem interesting, I think, to our family. So we are like, well, we've got friends in the Atlanta area, and there's apparently this big convention, and we've been talking about going to a convention for a while. So we're like, well, let's just go see. We went down on Saturday, slept over just outside of the city, and then drove in Sunday. And I mean, I don't know what I expected, but it was not what I ended up seeing. And it
Mhm.
was I mean, for those of you who have never been to Dragon Con, I don't really entirely know how to articulate it, but to those who have, they know exactly what I mean in my silence and in my absence of words to describe it, right? It is a culture of its own, and you're immediately immersed as soon as you get on site. And I went as Lara Croft, and I had been training for 3 years at that point and felt very confident in the body that I was putting in my costume and felt that it was a valuable part of the costume that I was presenting. Um, and I had a great time, and I had a lot of pictures taken and a lot of sort of validation, not just of the costume, but of sort of the physique that I brought to. And that sort of kick-started sort of a genuine curiosity of sort of where fitness and cosplay meet. I saw a couple of Spartans, but at the time, this was Sunday, so this was after the parade. This was after the march that they do through the hotels on Friday. So I had no idea that they were even part of a larger thing. So I just saw a couple. It was only in that massive hunt that everybody does after con to find photos of themselves that I realized that Sparta was like a thing. I was like, oh, okay. And that's where I bookmarked them. And then in 2019 was like, let me go here and see what I can do in that space. But um, Dragon Con sort of immediately became something I wanted to do, and not just Dragon Con as an event and as an experience, but cosplay as a creative sort of outlet and as a curiosity to sort of explore more, not just on its own, but myself as a maker and as an artist. Because I had been painting up until that point as a creative outlet. I do watercolor painting, and I was like, well, here, let me. I grew up watching my dad make World War II like ships from scratch, like models, die cast models from scratch out of
Oh.
like toothpicks and things he
Mhm.
picked up off the floor. And it was there, everything was there, just hadn't really had an outlet for it. And Dragon Con just sort of sparked it. And it wouldn't be, like I said, until 2019 that I joined the Spartans, and then 2021 when I would ultimately go again. And I think when it comes to cosplay in that time, um, cosplay and fitness for me have always gone hand in hand. Fitness for me has always been a part of my cosplay. It is a valuable, viable part of it. And I think very strongly that it enhances the characters that I choose. And it is a choice, right? I'm body forward because I'm confident, but also because I genuinely think that what I have as physique lends itself to the overall impact of the costume and the character that I'm choosing to portray. So it's a choice. It's not just, you know, narcissism, which I just
No, I
quick
don't think we
little
went
like,
there.
no, we didn't, but I said it because I think that cosplay and fitness, or fitness and cosplay, gets a little bit of hate, because it is, I don't know what it is. There's something about sort of the makersness. It's not as, I don't know what it is. I have never
Oh,
had,
no,
like,
I think I understand that. Like, it's not that we are saying that you must be in shape to cosplay. And I think
no,
that's often
no,
misinterpreted by the
yes,
community because cosplay is for everyone, and that's
it
absolutely
is.
true. But
And
the characters, we know what comic book characters look like,
we
and
do.
it's a
Um,
choice
it is.
to
And
decide where
I,
you want that detail and accuracy to go.
and I'm very much of the mindset of I work all year to sort of bring this to the stage at Dragon Con, the same as somebody who's building, a ball gown from scratch wood for the same purpose, right? Like
Mhm.
it's just a different sort of medium that we're working in. But I think in terms of the cosplays that I choose, some characters I'll just choose purely based on aesthetics and how they look. Red Sonja kind of falls into that. It's kind of funny. A lot of the Spartan girls tend to sort of also work on the same sort of costumes because they like the same sort of character set. So Victoria and I are also both working on Red Sonja. Well, she's finished hers,
She's
but
oh
I
good.
hers.
Yeah.
Did you see
Wow.
those
Yeah,
photos?
I
I
did.
can't
The
even.
armor is just it's perfect.
I
It's
just want
perfect.
to be here
Victoria,
when
it's perfect.
I just want to
Victoria.
be here when I grow up. But I'm working on a Red Sonja, but Red Sonja and I've done Vampirella before. Those both were
Mhm.
aesthetic choices. So those were, I don't really know much about the character lore, but I love the way that they look. I like how they've been portrayed. I have seen so many other cosplayers do them justice as their own in their own portrayal that it's sort of like, well, I want to add my part, sort of
Mhm.
my take on the character as well. And then there's also characters that are just sort of rooted in nostalgia for me, and that's where Rogue and Laura come in. I haven't done Laura as much just because Laura's where I started, and since being in cosplay for a couple of years, I have wanted to do different characters just to expand my repertoire, as it were. But Laura I wore for many years, and I'll still default to her. And Rogue has sort of emerged as a character that I feel quite confident in. And they're both, I mean, the X-Men movies came out in what, 2000? I think they started coming out in 2000.
Mhm.
Lara Croft, Angelina Jolie's Lara Croft came out right around the same
Right
time. I
around
want
the
to say it
same
was
time. Yeah, it's
2000,
early O's. Yes,
2001.
the
And
oddies.
I was, what, 12 or 13 at that time. And this was the first time I saw sort of characters that were superhero, literally, or sort of just badass in their own right and very sure of themselves and very confident in who they were and how they wanted to be perceived. And at the time in my life, I was very shy. I was very unsure of a lot of things. I was very much trying to please other people in the way that I did things, and I didn't really know a lot about myself or who I wanted to be. And I found a lot of alter ego kind of confidence in these characters that really just filled my childhood. We watched these movies all the time. I was watching the animated series for X-Men in the morning when I was getting ready for school. Like it was, these are characters and fixtures rooted in my childhood, right? X-Men, being comfortable in your own skin, finding power in who you are, both literally and and figuratively. And so those characters will sort of last, I think, in my character pool as I even go further into cosplay because they resonate on a very different level than just a lot of abs and a lot of muscle and armor does.
Mhm.
Um, but I think, cosplay characters, they'll always be strong. For me, it's how I want to be perceived. It's how I perceive myself. I put a lot of work into my headspace and into my physique and into sort of just the overall sort of idea of who I am as a person has really evolved as I've found a lot of confidence in these last couple of years, not just through cosplay, but through fitness as well. And I think that cosplay is a really excellent stage to sort of showcase that and use it to how you want it to be. I found excellent community in cosplay, right? The people that I have met in cosplay have changed a lot about how I think too and see myself and how I create and how I think friendships and just strength should be perceived as people. I don't know. It's I wouldn't be where I am in cosplay if I didn't have the community I have around me. The people who have shot me or taken video of me or who have loaned me costumes or who have given me sewing tips or making tips or even just post. I don't even have to know you, but if you posted a killer set of Red Sonja somewhere and I was just totally inspired by it, that's enough for me to feel like we're part of the same community, and you've given
Hmm.
me something that hopefully I can now give back to it as well. So it's just again, I'm blabbering, but cosplay is this big idea, this big complex thing that I have felt very grounded in. I felt a lot of validation of self in. I sort of felt like I've arrived um, for myself within. I've never been more creative in my life, and again, I studied art. I it's a really great, beautiful escape, and I think that again, I'm grateful that I get to exist in it in the way that I do.
And we are grateful that you chose it. You did such an amazing job, and you've been highlighted by some very large groups that do cover cosplay, Mineral Blue being one of them, for your Lara Croft. And Lara, it really, like, just watching some of the footage that they took from that, like, you have the character down, you understand the look, you know how to pose because you've done fitness, and it really all does. Like, if I can, I will validate you every day if I can. Like, just let me know, I'll send you a
Thank
DM.
you.
And really, would this, like, the approach that you have, and you said you've worked with many people in the space as far as photo shoots and some of the video sets that have been out on the internet. Would love to hear, I guess, first about maybe some of the favorite shoots or shoot that you've done recently, and what you might be working on now. What's a project that we might see coming up for cosplay?
So that's funny that you bring up that mineral blue shoot because that was also an accident. We were walking through that pavilion and nobody was there. It was just him there. I think he had maybe another girl there that he was shooting, but it was very quiet. There was not a lot of cosplay. It was early in the con. It was like Wednesday.
Hmm.
And he had me go up there and like the birds went off behind us and he was shocked by it. And the people that I was with were like, "Oh my God, did you see the birds?" Like, I know, I had no idea. So that was an accident. It was a happy accident. I didn't even know who he was at the time. It wasn't until after that I discovered. Um, that was a great shoot. I would love to work with him again. I think he's phenomenal. But I think the most I have done in terms of shooting with people have come out of Superpower Cinematics. And I think that
Oh, they're great people.
they're
Yeah.
so great. I love them so much. And that's Liam and Michelle, and
Hmm.
I talked to them both personally, and I like to consider them friends. And we did an Adelphi shoot last year at Con. We got I think there was five of us there. Victoria was there, and they shot us all for the very first time, sort of Adelphi's debut into video content. Um, and they did a Goblin Queen video of me last year at Dragon Con. That's probably one of, if not my absolute favorite video I've ever taken in cosplay. They just know how to capture people. And I've said it already, but I'll say it again. I think that the people who come to con with the explicit purpose of just capturing creators in their element, in their craft, is such a humble thing to do with your time, number one. But then number two, it is because of people like that that we as the cosplayers are then able to do what we do and sort of like spread our wings and sort of get out there
Hmm.
and be part of the community in a much bigger way. I owe a lot to people like them, and hopefully they'll keep they'll keep finding me and shooting me. But otherwise, in terms of things that I'm building Red Sonja.
Hmm.
Um, I am building a Chell from El Dorado. I've got the top half of her done, but I've had to
Wow.
rework the bottom half about three times now, and I would be lying if I said I haven't ignored it now for the last month because it's annoying me. Um, those are probably the more imminent ones. I I should be better about planning ahead for Dragon Con, but really that's more of a like, oh, it's 2 months to con. What costumes do I want to do?
Hmm.
I would love to do, I mean, a couple of one day like costumes I'd love to do one day that are kind of on the list. I would love to do an absolute Wonder Woman. I would love to just do a Wonder Woman in general. She's one of the most, I think, well done cosplays. She's done almost all the time everywhere, and I want to do her justice, no pun intended. So I have to feel like it's a good physique gear for me, for myself, to step into a costume that is iconic like that. Um, but I Not there's not much else. I can't overload my plate because otherwise I'll get overwhelmed. Though there will be, I think, a bedazzled phoenix this year at con.
Oh wow. Okay.
The Spartans
Yeah.
lost a Spartan over at the beginning of the year, and she was
Yeah,
gonna
I heard about
me and a
that.
group of friends, yeah, me and a group of friends for the last couple of years have always done bedazzled boudoir X-Men. That's where Scarlet Witch started. I did Mystique last year in the same sort of setting. And so all of us are going to do Bedazzled Phoenix for her because that's what she was going to join us this year as Phoenix. But obviously she won't be at con this year, so we're going to do a Bedazzled Phoenix. All of us will do
Oh,
our own take on it
that's a very
for
wonderful
her.
tribute. Yeah.
So that is on the docket to do as well for Dragon Con. And that's about the bandwidth that I have because if I stretch too much, that I start my ADHD starts to alarm and I can't focus. So
Yes,
that's where I am.
it is the problem with cosplays. It is a bit
Yeah.
of an addiction that way, where you start one and then you're like, oh, I could do this too,
Yes.
and I could do this one.
I,
I have all
yes.
sorts of works in progress, just sitting.
Yes.
I will eventually get to them
I I'd
sooner
love to
or
get
later
into
someday.
body painting. You know,
Mhm.
I'd love to do a Darth Talon one day. That's full
Ooh,
body red paint. I would love to do a
She
She-Hulk,
Hulk.
both red and green. One day. That's down the line. Those are not priorities. One day. But you know, the Spartan thing, you have to be in a tan at con. So that
Mhm.
does affect sort of what you wear and when. So I try not to plan full body paint cosplays from like Thursday to Saturday night because then my Spartan tan might go away.
Right? Yeah, and
So,
then yeah, that's kind
so,
of that's the mainstay. So you have to keep that, and then if you
so
paint
that as long
yourself
as,
red, and then you have to like
right,
go over it somehow.
right. I mean, some might work. I haven't tested it, but we'll see. Right now, Red Sonja's imminent, Chell is imminent, like Bedazzled Phoenix is imminent. That's where I'm at.
Oh my goodness.
For
Well,
for
that's a
what to
lot.
expect. Yeah. Mhm.
I can't wait to see it. Dragon Con really is just sneaking up,
It
and
is.
it'll be great to have all of the things happening there. And just in general, thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the show and to share your story and just everything that you're doing in the community that's just creating such a positive impact. Appreciate you so much.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much. Again, it's I talked about superpower cinematics giving people the platform, but you and sort of other people who do the same and choose people to sit and talk to and just listen to. You're giving me just the same amount of time and platform, and I appreciate what you do for this space as well. So that should not go unsaid or unnoticed. I think it's fantastic what you do for cosplay.
Where can we find you and how can we support you online?
I am on Instagram primarily. I'm a mom that lives on Instagram and I have a Throne account. I don't advertise it, but it's in the bio. If anybody wanted to go over there and support some of the cosplays I have up and coming, that would be great too. But no, Instagram is where you find me right now. That's where I'm at.
All right, go to Instagram, follow, like, and just watch all of the wonderful things that she comes out with her and Adelphi Phoenix, a Phalanx, not Phoenix. Phoenix is of course, we always have a little bit of tongue twisters, especially coming off of Nightmare
Well, and
Within
Adelphi
Figures as
Phalanx
well.
is
But
not part of Carmen vernacular
yeah,
anyway, so yeah.
I will get to these. I will get to the words. No, I promise. As episodes continue. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today with us, friends. This is Scotty B with the Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary saying bye bye, everybody.